For the second time this offseason, we preview an intra-conference transfer that came to North Carolina. Pac Kilby, is Cormac Ryan going to bring the sharpshooting to the Tar Heels that they really need after having the second worst team three-point percentage in program history? We about to find out.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Wednesday, September 6th, 2023. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. Joining me as he does every single Wednesday is our guy, Coach Pac Kilby, coming at you from the Oklahoma City, Oklahoma area. Pac, we're holding down that Midwest, baby.
Yes, sir.
All our, hey, it makes more sense now that we were ahead of the ACC expansion, right? We knew it was happening.
Yeah,
we want to welcome you into Locked On Tar Heels, where you get your team every day. Man, it's good to be together. Pac, we're carrying on our roster preview series. It's been going since early July. We've gone through the freshmen already. Elliot, Cadeau, Zayden High. We moved on to the freshmen, Seth, Trimble, Jalen Washington, the juniors, Harrison Ingram, James Okonkwo. All these duos. It's so wild. The only scholarship senior, RJ Davis. We've gone into the grad transfers, of which there's a ton. I don't know what you call it, but Jae'lyn Withers Paxson Wojcik are who we've looked at so far. And today we move on to Cormac Ryan. Now, if you missed any of those other episodes, make sure you go back and check them out. And I'm going to point to it right up there is the link to the playlist. So make sure you do that. So, Pac, again, today we have our second in ACC transfer. Obviously, Jae'lyn Withers, the other coming over from Louisville. Although now I guess Harrison Ingram is technically an in-conference transfer too, huh? Although not till next year, but that would be a wild thing. We might even play Stanford this year. I think they are in the Atlantis bracket with us, so that'd be interesting. Anyway, Pac, as we always do, would you hit us with Cormac Ryan's bio information and then just kind of update us on his recent stats?
Sure thing. So we've got Cormac Joseph Ryan coming through.
We got us a middle name, baby.
Right, yeah. Grad transfer. He spent 1 year at Stanford, 3 years at Notre Dame. Position, shooting guard. Hometown, New York, New York. Height, 6'5", weight 195. Jersey number 3. No Twitter handle. Instagram handle is Cormac_Ryan5.
That's pretty close to what we like, right? You know, we like it when there's just the name.
Nice, plain and simple.
The underscore always throws me, man. That's a little tough, but we'll let you have it, Cormac. It's all right.
All right, so let's get into some stats. 32 games played last year, 32 games started. 33.9 total minutes averaged. Season high of 40. 12.3 points per game, 4 rebounds per game, 2.5 assists per game, 1.5 turnovers per game. 0.4 blocks and 1.3 steals per game. This is the good stuff here. 134 for 328 from the field, 41% from the field. 3-point field goals, 63 for 183, which is good for 34%. A season high of 6 makes in a game. Free throws, 62 of 75 for 83%. So good free throw percentage. We just need him to shoot more of them.
Exactly. I think that is a point we need to get to as we talk here. Now, Pac, I know we usually will go straight from these stats into talking, like unpacking it, nuancing it. I want to get there, but I think with Cormac Ryan, there's a more important conversation that we need to have first about, it is something else on court, but it's more an intangible thing that I want to look at. As you look at his bio, one of the things that jumps out to you immediately, at least it does to me, is that Cormac Ryan has been a captain at Notre Dame for each of the past 3 seasons. And Pac, that immediately made me think of Mac Brown and those 1-0 Tar Heels, baby. And thinking about, so that's something Mac Brown often talks about is he loves bringing in young men to the football team who have been their team's captains because of the work ethic they bring, the leadership qualities they bring. And so as soon as I read that on his bio, I start thinking in Mac Brown terms, and I'm like, man, what does that mean about what Cormac Ryan is going to bring to this team? And Pac, I don't know about you, but I really think one of the big voids on the team last year was leadership. It's not Armando's natural inclination I think people follow him as a leader just because he's a gregarious guy and he's interesting and people want to be around him. But not necessarily in like the dude to get everyone in line. You do this, you're here, like not that kind of leader. Same kind of thing with RJ, right? At least that we often see, and that from everything I've been told from inside is true as well. Cormac strikes me as that kind of guy to come in. He's going to be respectful of the leadership that's already there and in place and the guys that have seniority and have been there. But he's like, listen, this is my last year. I'm not messing around. I'm bringing my leadership capabilities to the table, and we got to do this. How important, Pac, as someone that sees teams interacting day after day after day, how important is that type of leadership to a team like North Carolina that I think really needs it? Do you agree or do you not?
No, I absolutely agree. It's definitely a needed trait, and I think he brings it. And so to go back kind of to the beginning and work my way through
Sure.
What you were asking, I have multiple friends and trusted people that have seen Carolina practice this fall, and they literally come out of it ranting and raving about Cormac and
the person,
yeah, and the player, but the
right.
The leadership he brings, they talk a lot about it. And here's the thing, you kind of mentioned it, Armando and RJ. I think they're more like lead by action type people.
Yep.
And Cormac is too, but Cormac is very vocal and he's very assertive in the right kind of way. He's a great teammate. He's somebody that I've started to learn from people that I've seen him play and practice that you 1000% want him on your team. You don't want him on the other team. Like I
love dudes like that, man. That's like Tyler Hansbrough in a nutshell to me.
Exactly. Yes. And so the leadership aspect is going to be huge. And here's the cool thing about it. He hasn't exactly been on a team that's just been wildly successful. He's hungry to win. Yeah. And he's going to hold everyone accountable to that. And I think he's just a great addition as far as the experience and the leadership he brings to the table.
And let me also say a quick word. There is a thunderstorm happening where I'm recording right now. I can hear it. So if you can too, I apologize. If things cut out, folks, we'll splice this back together in post-production as best we can. But Pac, something you said there that I want to hit on as well is Cormac is not coming from a team that has been very successful. Unfortunately, these last couple of years under Mike Bray at Notre Dame have just not been the same. Is there concern? Yes, the leadership qualities and capabilities, like they are there 100%. Is there a concern? And this would be for somebody like Jae'lyn Withers too, who's coming from a Louisville program that just frankly stunk last year. We've got multiple guys like that kind of coming in. Stanford wasn't all that good. Harrison Ingram. So are there concerns that we would have, either of us, about winner's mentality or about what it takes to win? Or is it just, you think that's more circumstantial?
I think it's really kind of circumstantial. If you're looking at it from a Carolina standpoint, you got to feel good because we went, and then this is my opinion, but I think we went and plucked the best player from Notre Dame. I think we went and plucked the best player from Stanford. We went and plucked one of the best players from Louisville.
Yep. I'd say L. Ellis was probably the best last year. Yeah.
Right. And so to me, they've got the talent. And if anything, I think it bodes in our favor because these guys are hungry to win. You can say, yeah, they haven't won before. And there is a learning curve to that. You have to learn how to do that and what it takes. I think these guys know. And I think they're going to bring that. They're going to bring that edge of finally having a chance to play on a team that has competitive talent. And by that, I mean enough talent to compete for a national championship. They're going to want to do what it takes to get there. And so I almost look at it as a positive that they haven't won yet, because that desire and that hunger for them to do that is going to be there. And that, to me, is something we've really lacked.
Yeah.
It's almost like, and I'm not dissing any of the players, but sometimes when I watch Carolina the last couple of years, it's almost like there's a sense of entitlement because we're wearing that Carolina jersey. And I want to scrap that. I want to go back to being fighters and being dogs. And I think these guys are going to kind of bring that to the table.
Yep. And when we talk about that mentality, it's not as though they haven't won before. That winning mentality, it's not like they haven't won before. Like probably all of these dudes are winning in high school, right? You know, like I'm sure we could go back and check on all that, but you know what I mean? It's like, it's just like where they're coming from last year. So I'm with you. I'm not concerned about it at all. And the guys win all the time, and Carolina guys have won all the time. It's not like they forgot last year, right, how to win at Carolina. Like, because there's school like Arizona could be having the same conversation right now about Caleb Love. Like, ooh, does he know how to win? No, that's not a thing. That's a nothing burger to me, Pac Kilby. Well, speaking of, is it a nothing burger or is it something? There were a lot of people that were rankled last year about that whole Cormac Ryan, Puff Johnson interaction in the Carolina Notre Dame game, and were frustrated when Cormac Ryan came to North Carolina because it's like, I don't like him. He kicked Puff. Is that something or is it nothing? We're going to talk about that one in just a second. But before we get there, I need to tell you that this episode of Locked On Tar Heels is brought to you by eBay. Let's forgive me, for a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. Like getting Cormac Ryan, like getting Jae'lyn Withers, like getting Harrison Ingram. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Everything has to fit just right. So next time you need parts and accessories, head on over to eBay Motors. Because with eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure that every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your vehicle to My Garage, and then you look for this green check mark to help make sure that the part you're getting will fit, or you get your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when it comes to shopping on eBay Motors. Plus, they've got over 122 million parts, so you're going to have the opportunity to find what you need to get you back in the game in no time. After all, it's super easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. So get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers, eligible items only, and, of course, pack exclusions apply. You got to apply the exclusions there as you're paying attention to this. Hey, want to make you aware, we talked about Carolina being 1-0, got App State coming up this weekend, but every Friday, Locked On is kicking up our college football coverage. College football kickoff live each Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern, airing on every Locked On College YouTube channel. Make sure you check it out for all the great stuff that only Locked On can bring you. Great coverage, in-depth coverage, playoff implications, everything. Coming up, check it out this Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Locked On Tar Heels page. All right, Pac, let's go back to last year. Let's rewind to that incident with Cormac Ryan. As I look at it, I'll just go ahead and say where I'm at. But the question is that an issue of, like, I think we're triggered because of what's his butt from Duke. You know who I'm talking about?
Grayson Allen.
Yes, thank you. I'm kind of glad I forgot his name because of Grayson Allen and all those tripping incidents. I think we as Tar Heels fans are triggered because of that. Because there was kind of that moment with Cormac and Puff Johnson last season. So the question is this an issue of Cormac Ryan's a dirty player, or is it like, man, a just strong, fiery competitor just got caught up in the moment of the competition of a game like we've all done? I always say I'm an incredibly patient person. That's one of the fruit of the spirit God has given me. But man, sports, when I'm competing, it brings out the absolute worst in me, Pac. Are you there with me?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
And so I've got no problems with Cormac. I've got no problems with bringing him in. In fact, I am of the opinion that fire that he brings is a win for the Tar Heels. What about you?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a win for the Tar Heels. And, you know, it just goes back to what I was talking about earlier. He's somebody you want on your team. He's not somebody you want to play against. He's going to bring the competitive edge. And to me, that's all it was. It was competitive edge. It was in the moment. He was competing. It was a bang, bang play. And the incident happened. Was I happy about it in the moment? No. Am I happy to have that fire on my team now? Absolutely.
Yeah. It's like a hockey enforcer. You got to have dudes like that to protect. If I can make a Mighty Ducks reference, you need your Fulton Reeds to protect your Adam Bankses. You know what I mean? You remember that?
Sure.
And so you need, like, it's not like Cormac Ryan is this big, bulking, hulky dude, but somebody that doesn't mind mixing it up a little bit. I can get behind that.
Yeah, and to be clear, it's not like he has a reputation. He's not.
No,
he's not
not at all.
one. He plays with a fire, and we can use it.
We can, and we will. That's the other thing. Is it's like, listen, you get off my freshman point guard right now, or I'll end you. Right? Like, I expect some of those moments of him protecting Elliot, of him like, what are you trying to do to RJ? What any of that stuff. I look forward to. Okay, Pac. It's kind of cool to not just talk numbers. Like, I love being able to talk a little bit about what he brings as a person and as a player, as like his personality in playing. But I do want to get into looking at some of the stats and numbers and things about Cormac Ryan. One of the first things that jumped out to me as I was looking through all his stats. I think we think of him maybe as like, oh man, he's just going to be a 3-point shooter. And we'll talk about his 3-point numbers. But as you look at some of those averages and season highs, I think there is a good potential for stat stuffing from that 2 or 3 position, probably mostly the 3. But his season high in steals last year was 4, had 8 assists one game, 9 rebounds one game. You mentioned 6 made threes in a game, had 7 made free throws one game last year, season high 23 points in a game last year. And so I know he's not doing that game in and game out, but I just look at that he's got the capability to do it. And on any night, he's the type of player that's not just hovering around the 3-point line like, oh, maybe Elliot or RJ is going to pass me. Oh, sweet. Let's get one up, right? No, he's a guy that's going to do what you need to win. We've already talked about that with that competitive fire and those different stat things that he's filling up. It's not the same. It's not quite like in a Danny Green sort of way. It's just more that he's got the capability and willingness to go do what needs to be done for the team to win.
For sure. And, when you look at it, we've talked about this several other times. We're going to need players that can rebound the ball because
yes,
he can be smaller. And, he can go do that. He's capable of that. 8 assists in a game. We need the unselfishness. We need guys that are willing to give up a good shot to get a better shot. And, he just really provides. So I think he brings a lot of versatility to the table, much needed versatility. And I think that's going to be a huge win for us.
Here's an interesting question that I'm thinking on as you're talking there. Outside of 3-point shooting, because I feel like that's the thing we look at, and it's like, oh, he's gonna be our 3-point, not savior, but a big part of helping solve last year's issues. Outside of that 3-point shooting, let's set that aside, table it. What is the most important second thing that he brings?
I think he brings some defensive just IQ and tenacity. Going back to what we just talked about, just the fact that he can and is willing to do multiple things to help the team win. I view him that way defensively. Like if you go back and watch him play at Notre Dame, the dude's taking charges left and right. He's just in the right spot. He's got an IQ for what's going on. He's great at jumping to the ball. He's great at keeping the ball in front. And it's not because he's just some freak athlete that can keep anybody he wants to in front. He just has a great desire for it. And that, once again, that competitive nature. And that type of stuff right there is the stuff that we truly need. And it goes back to the leadership and the unselfishness and the willing to do what it takes to win. He brings that defensively, and I think that is going to be a major key for us.
And I think that's true whether he's at the 3 or the 2, right? Like with threes, he's probably going to be quicker than the majority of threes he's guarding, and able to either move with them or better than them. And with twos, he can will be able to overwhelm the majority of them with his size. And so I like the capability that he'll bring there on the defensive end of the court. Pac, let's say a couple words about his three-point shooting. We would obviously be remiss to not talk about it at all. I fully believe that he is better than last year's 34% from three. I would compare it to the conversation we had about Harrison Ingram, where now at North Carolina, he doesn't have to be the guy. He is a guy. He is a dude, but he's one of the guys. He's one of the dudes. And I think that's going to put him in a better position where he doesn't have to be the dude anymore. Now, is he going to get to the 41% that he shot his junior year? Maybe, maybe not. But man, if he could be somewhere in between that 34 to 41%, averaging kind of like 5 attempts a game as he has for his career, man, I would totally take that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'll say this, I kind of talked about it a little bit earlier about, having some people that have watched Carolina practice, and they tell me straight up, when that practice is over, Cormac goes and gets a drink, and then he gets right to his shooting progression workout.
Wow.
And he's the last one there. And I really think deep down that he's pushing for a big year, and I think he's going to deliver. I think it's kind of like you said, he's not the dude anymore. He's a dude surrounded by other dudes. And
who will sometimes be the dude.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's going to get the looks that he wants and needs. I think he's going to be able to create some on his own. I think he's going to add to his arsenal of not just necessarily being considered a three-point shooter, but like we talked about earlier, being able to get to the free throw line more. And I just expect him to be very efficient. And so I'm with you. I definitely think he's going to be better than that 34%. I don't know that it'll be 41%, but I expect it to be at least 38%. That's kind of my anticipation for him going into this season.
Well, as you may well guess, you're going to have an opportunity to prove that when we get to our over-under segment in just a minute. And yes, let's reiterate, free throw line. He's a career 80% plus free throw shooter. No reason, like last year, he averaged a career high 2.3 free throw attempts per game. I'd love to see that get up to 3 or so. Much more than that probably isn't realistic, especially for somebody that we do want taking a lot of threes. But man, when you add another 80% shooter to this team, come on, man, that is incredible. By the way, in terms of 3 points, let's put some context of what he's done from the 3-point line into Carolina context. So in his 4 years, 1 at Stanford, 3 at Notre Dame, he has 212 career 3-pointers made. Pac, if he had hit all those for North Carolina, he would be 7th all time in North Carolina history. That's right in between a guy named Donald Williams and a guy that is now his head coach, Hubert Davis. That is the territory that we're talking about with what Cormac Ryan has done, just to contextualize his 3-point shooting. Now, this will be his 5th year, so anything above that is, kind of putting him above where those guys were. But, that's what they've all done in their 4-year career. So I just think it's helpful context to see where Cormac Ryan is at in terms of just sheer number of total 3-point makes. Well, Pac, as we alluded to, I do want to throw some over-unders at you, as we always do. I've also got an interesting lineup scenario to propose to you that we can just talk about what we like and don't like about it. Oh, baby, it's the jumbo package coming up in just a second. All right, Pac, we're going to get to our over-unders here in just a second, but I want to ask you this question. The assumption, or the thing we've been talking about a lot this offseason, is this starting lineup. And I know not everyone agrees with this, but it feels like this is the prevailing starting lineup that the majority of people assume will happen. Elliot Cadeau at the 1, RJ Davis at the 2, Cormac Ryan, who we're talking about today, at the 3, Harrison Ingram at the 4, Armando Bacot at the 5. Let me just propose you this option that could come up in a game depending on opponent and who you're playing. RJ or Elliot at the 1, Cormac Ryan at the 2, Harrison Ingram at the 3, and then one of the Jaelens at the 4, Jae'lyn Withers or Jalen Washington, and then Armando at the 5. I'm calling this the jumbo lineup because outside, outside of RJ and Elliot, that means you go 6'5", 6'7", 6'9", or 10, depending on which of those Jalen's you got, and then 6'11" with Mondo. My friend, that is some overwhelming size that can absolutely play those positions. What do you think about my little jumbo lineup proposal here?
Well, so I'd be curious what a lot of our listeners are thinking. So definitely put your comments out there. But this is my thought. I think the prevailing thought is, like you said, to have that 3-guard lineup of Elliot, RJ, Cormac, and then move Harrison, Mondo to the 5. Hubert has shown that he's kind of reluctant to do that. It would not surprise me one bit if that was your starting lineup on the first night. The jumbo lineup was your starting lineup. That wouldn't surprise me. And I honestly, I even tend maybe to lean towards that, although I don't necessarily agree with it, but it wouldn't surprise me to see that at all until Hubert shows me that he's, willing to do something different. I've got to just go off of what we've already seen, and I wouldn't be surprised to see this lineup out there. And I think it could be an effective one.
I think so too.
I think we don't lose any integrity in the transition game because I think Withers, Mondo, I think they can run the floor really well. That's kind of yet to be determined on Washington. When we get a larger sample size of him, we can really see that. But they're still shooting. There's still guard play. There's still size. So that lineup offers a lot of, good qualities and tough things to try to guard and tough things to try to stop. When you look at that 5 in the jumbo lineup.
Yeah. And even you went somewhere with it different than I thought about. I was just saying, like, at some point in games, I bet we'd see that. I hadn't even really much contemplated it as like, what about this as a starting lineup potential? And I think you're right about we can only go off of what we've seen. And from what we've seen, that in some ways feels more likely than the one that we've been assuming will be the starting lineup. So really interesting points there. Pack, it's time for over-unders. You ready? I got 2 of them for you today. One we already teased, so let's go straight to 3-point field goal percentage. As we said, last year, 34%, 2 years ago, 41%. I'm going to put it right kind of in between those, and we're going to go at, I guess it's not right, but well, it is right between those, but 37%. What you got?
I'm going to take the over. It's kind of, goes back to what I said earlier. I think he's putting in the work. I think he expects a big season from himself. I think Carolina, the team and the fan base is expecting big things from him. And I think he lives up to the hype, quite frankly. And I think he's going to get, at minimum, I'm thinking 38% from 3. What about you?
I think this is the first time I've done this, but I'm push. I'm going to go right at 36%, smack dab in the middle of the last 2 years. But I'm fine. I'm good with it. I'd love it to be more, but I'll take 37%, man. That's happy for me. So we'll do that. Now, the other over-under for us today. This is an interesting one. I don't think I've ever posed you one this way. Over-under 3rd on the team in minutes per game. Does that make sense, what I'm asking?
Yeah. Uh-huh. So is it, I guess, let me make sure I understand this right. If I think he's going to be 3rd, it's a push?
I would say it's a push if you think he's 3rd. That's why I said him as 3rd.
Yeah. And, obviously I think RJ's probably going to be the one that leads us in minutes per game. And really, quite frankly, there's an argument that Cormac could be 2nd just because, who knows what Armando's going to do with foul trouble if we try to rest him more than we have in the past. And I think Cormac's going to be an absolute vital piece to what we do. So there's an argument for 2nd, but I think RJ and Mondo edge him barely in minutes, and Cormac comes in 3rd.
Okay, this is hard for me, is why I posed this, because I think I'm right with you. RJ is no-brainer number 1 for me, assuming health and all that kind of stuff. The 2 through 4 to me is some combination of Harrison Ingram, Armando Bacot, Cormac Ryan. I think Elliot is 5th on the team in minutes per game, but I could also see as he gets more and more and more and more comfortable, he gets more minutes per game as the season progresses. But I feel like I got to take a push because I think here's what I would love to see is Mondo actually be fourth on the team in minutes per game, but just slightly behind Cormac and Harrison Ingram. I'm going to say over and put Cormac at second in minutes per game, just because of everything we've talked about with his leadership, what he brings to the team, everything he's been working towards for this last year. I just think there's such a heavy reliance that the coaching staff will have on him. And so I'm going to take the over and call him second on the team in minutes per game. Woo! I'm excited for this. Pac, I feel like Cormac is the guy that I've been getting more and more excited about for this team.
Same. Yeah, I'm very excited to watch him play. There's a lot of unknowns. I'm excited to see how Elliot does in college. I'm excited to see how Harrison Ingram plays with this team and kind of the way his skill set fits in. But by far, Cormac intrigues me the most, and I'm most excited about what he can bring to the table.
There's so many question marks, but they hopefully will turn into exclamation points. How about that for a little grammar lesson at the end of the show? It's been great to be together today, folks. Pac and I thank you so much for joining us. You can follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Heels. Follow Pac at Coach_K23 or me at Isaac Schade. You can email the show, lockedontarheels@gmail.com. We'd love for you to submit your questions and things. We're always using those, throwing them into shows and doing things like that. Don't forget to subscribe on audio and video formats. Want to thank you everydayers, as always, for joining us. If you're a newcomer, welcome. We're glad you're here. Come on in and join us. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll be right back with you tomorrow. But until then, peace.